Well, the state of the country and the economy have reached a point where the president and his administration can't even hide behind the left-leaning media outlets anymore. The Washington Post editorial board publishing an op-ed critical of President Biden for being dishonest about inflation, blasting him for not trying to address the issue that's on everyone's mind sooner, and for pointing fingers at corporations and others like Congress and Putin for the problem. Well, joining us with reaction is today's company, radio talk show host Mary Walter, and radio show host for KDW in Las Vegas, Steve Sanchez. Also with us, business and market analyst Seth Denson. It's so fun to have all three of you together here on set with me. Thanks for joining us. Mary, I'm going to start with you. So the Washington Post, of all people, and their editorial board saying that Biden has been unwise, pretty much lying about inflation, and that he should have stepped up and addressed this sooner than anyone else. Then we have the LA Times writing that Biden, the guy who came in, that was supposed to be the guy with competency and experience, is struggling with multiple crises. Can't juggle too many balls at one time. Can't chew and gum and walk at the same time. I think it's pretty bad when you've lost the LA Times and the Washington Post editorial board.
Yeah, it's also really bad when you lose CNN too. I mean, you want to talk about a channel that was whole hog in the tank for Joe Biden. State-run media, Democrat-run media. You had Jake Tapper and Wolf Blitzer go after two different people from the administration regarding inflation and the lack of food for babies, formula. How come Joe Biden didn't know about this? They were actually questioning the timeline, holding their feet to the fire. It was amazing, and it happened on several occasions this past week. So that says to me that the word has gone out that Joe Biden is on his way out.
So take a listen to what Biden said this morning about inflation. This was after jobs reports were released. Watch.
There's no denying that high prices, particularly around gasoline and food, are a real problem for people. But there's every reason for the American people to feel confident that we'll meet these challenges. Because of the enormous progress we've made on the economy, the Americans can tackle inflation from a position of strength. It's still a problem. We can tackle it from a position of strength.
All right, position of strength. I'm not so sure about that because even today, his own Labor Secretary, Marty Walsh, admitted that real wages declined and wage growth didn't really grow because inflation is so bad. And then CNBC reported that 1.8 million people in May weren't able actually to go back to work because their job or their business that they were supposed to go back to had closed down. And so Biden can actually say whatever he wants, but are people going to trust him or their wallet at the end of the day?
Well, I think, Lindsay, there's a couple of things. To your point, you see wage growth at 5%, but inflation at 8-9%, and that's on average. That's not factoring in everyday expenses like 30 and 40% on things like fuel and food. And so the reality is Americans are looking at their wallet, but they're also listening to business leaders like Elon Musk and Jamie Dimon. It's effectively like those are the weathermen of the business saying there's a hurricane coming, as Jamie Dimon has alluded to, and the president, who has zero business experience, is the weatherman out there saying, no, it's sunny. Everybody look, everything's great. But here's the reality. When business leaders like Musk and Diamond and even Berkshire Hathaway and some of these other organizations are filling sandbags, there's reason to cause for concern. And that's the reality that Americans are facing right now and looking at when they're thinking about the economy.
Yeah. Steve, Biden continues to point fingers and blame practically everywhere. I mean, this has kind of been, I would say, one mainstay of his presidency, that he never takes the blame for himself. But it's actually gotten increasingly worse. We even have the media pointing it out now. I mean, what kind of leader is this? It's just pointing around. When he came out with his 3-point plan this week, it was actually, he said, in his article, he threw his hands up and said, I've done everything I can do. It's on the Fed now. It's on Congress now. He took no blame.
This is typical Joe Biden. I mean, let's rewind when it was Senator Biden. This was Joe Biden's mantra. When it was Vice President Biden, this was Joe Biden's mantra. Joe Biden has never taken responsibility. He's been a failed leader for 50 years. It's just the reality. And moderate Democrats now are starting to realize that. And really, they're preparing for a President Kamala Harris. God help us all.
Yeah. The media is obviously unhappy with him, but according to new reports, Mary, staffers actually at the White House are pointing fingers at each other as well. So this is a growing trend in this administration. And President Biden's getting mad at them, saying, hey, you're not telling me stuff. You brought up the baby formula shortage, saying, hey, you should have told me sooner. So he's pointing fingers at them. They're pointing fingers at him. I mean, these are the people that everyone thought were going to come in, at least the left, were going to come in and bring stability to the White House. And we're seeing something quite different.
Oh, yeah. He threw some staffers under the bus earlier this week when he said, well, they're not doing enough to tackle inflation. It's not their job. Joe Biden told him, what has he done for the last 40 plus years working in politics? What has he done? He doesn't know how to handle this inflation problem. He doesn't know how to handle it. But, you know, I think the rank and file Democrats really bought it, and they really thought that Joe Biden has all this experience and he's going to come in and, hey, he's not Trump. So he's got a lot more experience. He can do just as good of a job with the economy as Trump. I don't think that the elite members of the party, the heads of the party, those higher up, actually really thought Joe could handle this. I don't think for 1 second Barack Obama thought that Joe Biden would be a good president and could handle it, and he can't. But I don't think those members of the party, I don't think they're surprised at all.
Yeah, Obama just couldn't run again, unfortunately, for his sake. I will say, Seth, though, some of these articles that are coming out are saying that Biden's mad because he's not able to do what, you know, Joe does best, go off script and kind of have those conversations with people. They have him on a teleprompter because he's the gaffe machine, right? And so there's this conversation amongst staff. Should we let him go unscripted or should we not? He said at the beginning of the year he wants to be out with the people more. Does this hurt him? Or does it help him?
Well, I think, listen, I think if he would get out with the people, it probably would help him. We all know he's a gaffe machine. I think people would give him some grace for that. I think them trying to put him on a prompter and then going out 5 minutes after he talks and effectively reversing everything he said and saying, no, what he really meant, it's reducing the American public's confidence in President Biden. And that's the reality. So they're putting him in a no-win situation. And we talk about these staffers leaving. We need some staffers to leave. For example, maybe Janet Yellen, who is out this week saying we didn't see the economy doing what it was doing. Wait a minute. Your job is to see it. You're either ignorant or you're lying. And so either one of those is cause to leave. So maybe we need some of them to leave and others to stay. But regardless, maybe the wrong ones are staying and the right ones are leaving.
Yikes. Steve, good idea to let Biden go unscripted. Yes or no?
Absolutely not. Even the Easter Bunny knew that and tried to save him.
Yeah, that's a good point. Easter Bunny leading him around at the Easter egg roll. You know, that made some good gaffes for us. All right, Mary, Steve, Seth, stick around because as we just discussed, the financial storm is about to hit this country, as many people are warning. That's also a clue for the company quiz, which is coming right up.